Thanks so much, Dave, for coming down to the first D3rk Matter Academy.
No worries, thanks for having me.
Yeah, pleasure. I think we've been talking online for a while, just through Instagram, about photography and things like that.
Yeah, I think I seen you did a video for Leo McCourt, and that's why that's why I first seen you. And I was like following you from there, and I was like, this guy's so good. I was always saying to Leo, I was like, he's way better than me.
We'll probably start off with, how did you get into photography?
I sure like everyone else, was just through a crippling fear of ever having to get a real job. So I went to college. I come from like quite a middle class background, and then so like I don't come from a very artistic background. Like everyone in my family have like real jobs. So when I was in school, it was I went to a private school, so they spent all that money on me. So like I had to go to college. Just that thing. Everyone went to college. So when I finished school, I had just gone through like the CAO, which is like down south is how we pick what college course we're going to do, and I just eliminated anything that had anything to do with maths. So I was like, no, I'm not doing that. Any sort of maths, so any business degree, I was like, I'm not doing that. And then I found communications in DCU, and there was no maths in it, and one of the modules in that was photography. So I just did it. So I just picked it. It was like, so you had to pick like radio, film, or photography. So I was like, I'll just do photography, because I always had an interest in photographs. I liked looking at photographs. I always liked like David Attenborough documentaries and stuff like that. So I always had like an interest in visual stuff. So I'd picked the photography, and then I was training kickboxing at the time, and I just thought this is something I could definitely do and train at the exact same time. So I could just take photos, train. So that's kind of just how it happened. I just did all my college projects while I was training, so it was all on like kickboxing and MMA and stuff like that, and that's just really how I got started in it, and kind of went from there.
That's how it progressed.
Yeah. So I kind of took a break though. I did that. I finished it, and I didn't know what I was going to do with my communications degree. Like even now, people ask me like, "What is a communications degree?" And I don't really know. Like I was like, I don't know what job I was meant to get. So I went off to Australia and worked. I worked in a bank selling insurance over the phone.
Yeah, and that's probably when you realised that you didn't really want to do that.
Yeah, I hated it. I hated every second of it. I was making more money than I ever made in my life, especially up to that point. Like I was making like $2,000 a week, and all. I was like, this money's brilliant. Like, and I was just blowing it all. And I just woke up one day and I just hated it. I just hated going to work. So I called in sick, and I just never went back. And I thought, I have my degree. I like taking photographs, so I'll go home and become a photographer. So this is what I did.
I think once you take you take that idea and you go, this is what I'm going to do, and you just start working towards it and putting all your effort and your time into it, I think gradually things just start to happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? some way or another, like gradually.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I'm like, it's probably the reason that like I never get asked to go back and talk in my skills, because I just tell everyone, I was like, look, it'll be grand. It'll just work out.
Fuck your degree.
Like you didn't need to do anything. I always just figured it'll be fine. Like I'll just keep doing it. It will eventually, it will pan out. I'll find out what I'm meant to do. Like that's just literally what happened. Like I knew just from going into an office that like it just wasn't for me. Like I was getting in trouble because I was just messing on my phone the whole time, like, and I was just bored looking at Instagram and looking at stuff, and I was just like, I
know I had an office job as well after I actually did uni as well, and I had an office job for a while. Just used to sit in the office and like scroll scroll the internet and look for like photography and all these type of things, and then after a while they just actually sacked me.
Well, I got to the point I broke up with them before they could break up with me. I was like, I'm out of here.
I don't know which one was it because of that, or is the job ended or whatever, but yeah, it was kind of a temporary thing anyway, but that's how it kind of happened as well.
Yeah, for me, I could feel the shadow looming over, like, I was getting more of, I'll come in and talk in the office and do this and do that, but I just hated it. And like I wasn't, especially it was in the summer in Australia, and all my mates were getting like sunned off, and like they were all working construction jobs. They were going to the beach and all, and I was like, this isn't what I came to Australia to do. And even I brought my camera with me, because I bring my camera everywhere. I've taken pictures when I was going through like Thailand and when I was in Australia. But one thing I realized is like I didn't know what I was doing, because the module was only such a small part of my communications degree that I was kind of like, I knew I liked photography, but I had absolutely no idea how to take photos. Like I was just using it on auto, and like I'd have like auto ISO, or like I had no real understanding of what it is. So when I came back, I was like, that's what I wanted to do. So when I came back from Australia, I was out of work for ages because like it was, especially the time everyone was out of work.
Yeah, the whole Celtic
the whole
crash and all that.
Celtic Tiger crash, and I come back in the time that probably when everyone was going over. Like I come over and there was like no one else on the plane from Australia. It was like
away and you were
it was like a wrong way. Like it was like the immigration was like, "Are you sure you're not meant to be going the other way?" But I come back and they I was doing nothing, just sitting in my Maz gaff with my mates, like just doing shit that I shouldn't have been doing. Like,
were you training at the time? Was there any sports or?
Yeah, so I like that was one thing that I was always like quite passionate about. Was like I enjoyed training, I enjoyed fighting, like because I'm like a very you can tell from the top, like I'm very like I like to be when it came to like that's why I like combat sports. I didn't really like team sports because I like being accountable for it. Like I like being the center of attention when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like, so when I fight, I like because it's just you in there. It's no one else in there. Like you have your team and they help you train, but when you get in there, it's just you.
You're put on the spot.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. It's probably why I gravitate towards photography and not other things. And especially even in my photography, I do a lot of stuff myself. So I like to do things by myself. Probably because I'm antisocial as well, though. Yeah. But I just like doing stuff by myself. So I was training I had a few fights. I had a fight in Australia, then I came home and I was like, oh, I'm going to keep doing this, going to keep training. And I was like, the photography kind of took a back step. I was like, yeah, it's like no one makes money doing it. Like, you know, I was never thought I was any good at it, so I never really looked into it. So I thought I came back, was still training. I was like, oh, I have to get a job now because like my mom.
That's what everybody else does.
Yeah, and my mom was saying, look, like, what are you doing? Like, you know, like
get out of my house.
Yeah, you're not sitting around here doing nothing. So I thought I'd go back and I'd get a job. And so I'd applied for a recruitment agency and they had found me. So they found me an interview and I did the interview. And then it was one thing I was like, I really don't want to go back and work in an office. So at the same time, I'd applied for Griffith College in Dublin to do a photography degree. And they had called me on a Monday. So they called me and they were like, oh yeah, like, you know, because I was a mature student at the time, they were like, oh yeah, we'd love to have you in. Like you can come in, like you've got a place in the course. So I was like, oh, lovely. And it was like literally as soon as I hung up the phone so I was buzzing the fact like, oh, Daly, I got into college. And then 5 minutes later, it was like literally 5 minutes later, I got a call from the recruitment agency saying they'd found me a job in Dublin Port, working in like I was working in an office doing some shit I didn't want to do. But if they called me first, I definitely would have taken the job because it was money. I was like, they were like, the wage was pretty good. So it was nearly like the question, should I do it? But I was like, oh fuck, I'll just do the photography because I'd already said yes. And when I say yes to something, it's like this. When I say yes, I'm gonna do it. Like I hate not showing up or I hate not following through on things.
You have to have that work ethic as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So if it had gone the other way around, I'd probably be sitting in an office and working for Dublin Port.
That's crazy. How did the whole thing with Conor come about?
Yeah, it was kind of the same with like with my philosophy of it will just work out. It was, so I was training at the time. I was training in SPG Charlestown, and I was working for a website called Severe MMA, and so we were going around photographing all the amateur MMA scene, and we were doing all the interviews with the fighters. So I was kind of getting a good, like, not a reputation, but people knew who I was within the amateur scene because I'd shot all these amateurs, so people kind of knew who I was. And
you were developing like a community. You were becoming that community,
and
that
especially
world.
At the time, there wasn't too many people doing it. Especially down south, there wasn't anyone really photographing.
It was the same up here. It was the same up here.
Yeah, it was before the big explosion. Like it was at the time where I had to explain to people like what MMA was. Like, oh, is that wrestling thing? I was like, yeah, it's like wrestling, but it's a bit different. So I was just constantly going down to the gym. Like people would call me like, oh, can you come down and do a fight poster for me? I'd be like, yeah, cool, I'll come down and I'll do it. So I'd seen Conor, and like I'm sure he had seen some of my work through all the other people. Then I got a call from Severe MMA because they were making the Notorious documentary at the time, and they just rang me. Their videographer Gav Kelly couldn't Gavin Fitzgerald, sorry, he couldn't go over to Vegas and film it was the first Diaz fight. So they rang me and go, will you do it? And I was like, yeah, of course I'll do it. And so I had to go around to Gav's house. Like I literally had no idea how to do video, not a clue. Like I had no idea. I had to go around and ask Gav to show me the setting. So he had to set my camera up to do it. Like, and because it was I didn't know it was going to be bought by a parody. I didn't know it was going to be made into a film. It's going to end up on Netflix. It's going to be in the cinema. I just seen Delhi, free trip to Las Vegas, and I'm actually going to get paid, and I'm going to get film Conor McGregor. I was all over because Conor had already he'd already blown up.
Yeah, Nate Diaz won. Yeah,
that was like because I knew who Conor was, and I'd taken photographs of him like at just different things, but I'd never actually like shot him or worked with him. I'd always just taken pictures of him. So when the opportunity came, I jumped at it. So before I knew it, I was over in Las Vegas in his house, and I was like, shit, I have to record this guy now. So just spent like a week and a half with him. I did the whole fight week, and I did everything. At the same time, I was in college at the time, so I was taking photographs because I had to ask for the time off because I was gone for well, I shouldn't have been. I went for 3 weeks because I ended up competing in the Pan Ams when I was over there. I just stayed on, so I just lied to the college and said, "Oh, I'm going over for 3 weeks to do this project." So I was filming him, and then I'd switch the settings, take a few photographs, and switch back. Just to like, so I could send some
video content.
And I could send some photos back to the college, so I could like justify being there, and they wouldn't like fail me.
Yeah.
So I done that, and I was like, yeah, like they're okay, like, but I didn't think anything of them. And then my lecturer at the time was like, oh, you should enter them in the National Sports Photographer of the Year award. And I was like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not gonna win because I don't do anything unless I think I'm gonna be good at it. And like everyone, everyone hates to lose, so it's like I don't want to make a show of myself and like have my fears confirm to me that I'm not good at this by losing. So I was like, I'm not doing that. But she had done everything. She filled out all the forms for me. Like she sent them on. So all I had to do was send her back the images. So I was like, fuck, I have to now. Like she's done all this work. I have to send her the photos. So I was like, right, here's a few pictures, and she entered them in it, and I ended up winning then. So I'd filmed Conor then, send the photos, and I didn't see him again for ages, and I ended up winning the award and everything, and I hadn't seen him. So I sent him. I was like, fuck, I'll chance my arm and I'll send it to him. I sent them to him on Facebook Messenger. So I sent him the photos, and I was like, oh, here's some photos I took of you in Vegas. I won this award doing them, and it was actually before. Like, I don't like Facebook Messenger now. You can see if someone's seen your message. This is before that. Like, that's how long ago it was. Old school. It was just like you sent them and you hoped you get a message back. So I sent them and I didn't hear anything back for months. And so I was like, oh, he mustn't have liked them, or he mustn't have liked me. I must have been annoying him. So a few months after I'd sent them to him, I was just sitting at home, and I was going to go to bed, and my phone went off, and I looked down, and it just said like, from Conor McGregor. It just comes up like Conor McGregor on Facebook Messenger. Like, what the fuck? Like, Conor McGregor's after messaging me. I clicked into it, and he was like, oh, like, great photographs. Maybe you should come down for a week of training and see how we get on. And that was like in 2016.
And that was the first then.
Yeah, that was the first. That's the first time I started working for him, and then I've been working for him ever since, and kind of just kept at him hanging around him until he eventually started paying me, and it started becoming my full-time job, and that's what I do now.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it all just works out. Like I told everyone, it's like it will just work out. Like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, just keep at it and just be persistent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and send people a message.
Yeah. It's crazy. But that's how it worked out. It's just like off Facebook Messenger, and I tell people, and loads of people are like, oh, you knew him before that, and I was like, nah, like literally, I just literally sent him a message on Facebook Messenger.
Yeah, I actually thought you knew him before that. That's pretty interesting, to find out.
Yeah, because I'd never trained, because there's so many SBGs that I trained in SBG Charlestown. I never actually trained in the gym until, like, I was training with him when I knew him. So, but I didn't, like, he didn't pick me because like he knew. That's your man who trains in the gym. I'm sure he'd seen my stuff and he'd heard my name around the gym just from taking all the amateurs and stuff. It's
a pretty tight-knit community, the MMA community, and everybody kind of knows everyone. Yeah,
and then from doing the movie, from filming the week with him, like obviously I didn't annoy him too much, so he's like, all right, he's all right to have around, and then so he's just like, message me.
Especially when you're in those sort of environments where there's a lot of things happening at the same time. You kind of have to make yourself almost, you have to get the shots, but at the same time you kind of have to know when to pull back.
Yeah, when to pull back. That's a big thing, especially with working with Conor or anyone, is like knowing how far to push it. Like, you want all this great content, like, but like just
that self-awareness of,
if you annoy people, you're not going to get it. Like, so
I've seen a few photographers shooting, like, they're in people's faces or whatever, and that style just would not work.
I do it the odd time, like if I see a cool thing, I'm like, right, I'll get closer.
This needs to be done.
It needs to be done, but like, you got to know how far to push it and how far not to, especially at the start. At the start, I was terrified of him. Like, I wouldn't even, like, I was just looking at the ground and I couldn't make eye contact with the fella. Like, I was just shitting it, like. So I was like, right, just don't annoy him, and like I'd only send him like 3 photographs. I was like, I'd spend like a day with him, I'd send him like 3. I was like, these are the best 3, like, and he'd be like, anymore. I'd be like how much more does he want? Like, and I was like, I've spent hours editing them, and like he just wants them so quickly, like that eventually I just like that really helped me push my style to now that I know that I have to get so much right in camera that like if you shoot raw you can fix everything, but if it's not, if I don't have the time to do it, like, so I had to really like develop a style working for him and stuff. And
you were saying as well about him being a perfectionist, even when it comes to the images, you know, saying, did you get this particular shot? Him, like having a photographic memory.
Yeah, he's crazy. He's got like a proper photographic memory. He'd be like, did you not get, especially when it comes to like sequences in the gym. So I'll like take photographs and I'll be like, just pick one and 10 more after it, ignore what's in between. He's like, do you know halfway I put my hand on his hip to get the pass? And I'm just like, what? He's like, hang on. I was like, no. I was like, I don't have that. He's like, oh man, you missed it. I'm like, it's on your hand on his hip, like who cares? But to him it's like that, like he looks back at them and like analyzes everything like that. He's just got this
he's seeing the angles as well.
He knows, like he knows what to do with it, like. And even from the very start, from the first times working with him, like he knew. I think it was before his social media really blew up. It was before like he had like, obviously before he had his 30 million followers, but I think from early on he had recognized, because he'd gone through all these camps and he'd done all this, and he didn't have, like, he only had pictures on his phone and stuff from him. And like Joe, from when the UFC or someone would send a photographer down, he'd have some of that. But I think he's really wants to have his own images, and he wants to like he just likes looking at it.
Well, that's all about controlling his brand as well. Do you know what I mean? And getting the content out there of what he's doing and stuff.
Yeah. So I think he just seen it, and then he just realized that, like, obviously I hadn't annoyed him making the movie, and then he was like, I think he liked the idea of like
having a photographer,
of just having his own images that like he wouldn't have to worry about, and that he'd just be able to collect these. And I don't think he had like this greater plan for them. He just wanted pictures of himself.
Well, it's moments in history and sport and history that are documented, and you know, moments in his personal life as well.
Yeah, that's what's really cool now, like, is when I look back at them, like at this big archive I have, like, I'm like, oh, these are, like, people say like, oh, they're like iconic images of someone, like, but like I don't, like, at the time when I'm doing them, I just look at like making sure he likes them.
You're looking back at history, you know, these moments. So the other thing was, so how did you, I know originally you were shooting on Canon, and then you decided to make the change to Sony.
I got a nice plug in here for the Sony people. What's up?
How did that happen?
So it's just from so I did the whole Mayweather camp, which was the first time. So that was the first time I'd actually, because I just ramble now, so I've gone all over the place. So that was the first time I'd actually proper worked for Conor for a whole camp. So I shot a lot of his stuff, but it was like on and off. He'd call me to come down for a week. I'd do a few days, then I wouldn't hear from him for a while, and then he'd text me again, I might come down for a day. So I'd done a lot of the Diaz 2 camp. I had done.
I was in an epic fight.
Such
a bloodbath.
So after that, it was for what he messaged me that time when he messaged me in 2016 to come down to do the week of training. Was then the next time I heard was for the Diaz 2 camp. I did all the bit in Ireland, and then they went to America, and obviously he didn't. I don't know why, but he just decided, you know, he didn't want photos, so I didn't hear from him for ages after that as well. So it was kind of real sporadic. And then I broke my thumb in an MMA fight, and so I had this big luminous pink cast on at the time, and he messaged me just going, like, come down, because I was kind of on and off with him, like, you know, I'd done stuff, I'd worked with him for the Eddie Alvarez fight, like I was working with the Mac Life, so I was kind of connected with him, but I was never actually working directly for Conor. So the Mayweather camp was the first time I worked for Conor, so he asked me to come down. Did the whole camp in Ireland, and then I was like, oh, is he gonna go? Like, is he gonna go off on this cool world tour that I kept hearing about? Like, so I was like, it's like, I have to get on that tour. I have to get on this. This is gonna be such a big. It's like, I want to get on this. It's gonna be this. Like, when talking about iconic, I was like, that's it. This will be an iconic fight. So I somehow managed to convince him that, listen, you need these images. Like, look how cool it's gonna be. Like, you love having all these. Look how fast I am at giving them to you. So he agreed to. I had like a PowerPoint of how I was gonna go at this. Like, this is this is how, and that's really what like forced me to develop my style. I was like, I have to make myself useful to him. He has to realize that, like, he can't. He has to see the usefulness in me. So I just developed. I'd like made all these presets. So I'd go down to the gym for the first day I'd take, and I'd work. Like, I worked like 3-4 o'clock in the morning making presets of how fast. I was like, okay, if it's a cloudy day, because he wants so many of them. Like I was saying, he wants that hand on his hip and he wants 10 of them. I can't edit the way I want to edit 150 photographs. It's impossible, especially by the time he's in the shower. When he's in the shower and he's out, he wants to see them.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I
talk about client turnaround.
I see it's like, and they talk to my client, I will have them to you early next week. I'm like, early next week? I was
What's
like,
that? What's that, Joe?
I've sent him 400. So I had to develop these. So I'd go in, even in where he wouldn't be training, I'd be like, it's a sunny day. I'd go down and I'd take a picture of just anyone in the gym, and I'd work on presets to try and make, okay,
within
if it's cloudy,
within that environment.
yeah, if it's cloudy, I can just click on my presets. I have a cloudy preset, I have a sunny preset, I have an action preset, I have all these presets made. Are they the best presets in the world? No. Do they work? Yeah, so I'll send them. So I'd worked on it for like, it's like 4 o'clock in the morning some mornings, and I was trying to get it right. So then I had kind of like, I had it loosely done, and I was shooting on, to go back to the question without rambling, I was shooting on the Canons. So I'd shoot on him, he'd go in, I'd click on these presets and I'd make them. But so then he was like, right, come on the tour. So I was carrying around these 2 huge 1DXs. So I'd have, because I had to try and get, I'm like, all I was so worried about was like, I have to get him these shots. Yeah. Like the way I seen it was I'm competing against.
It's all about the speed.
Yeah, and I'm competing against all these other photographers.
Yeah,
like,
who all want your place.
Yeah, and they're all working for all these separate like outlets. So one will have a huge zoom lens on, one will have a wide open one. So I was like, I need to have both. Yeah. I need to give him the close-ups, I need to give him the wides, I need to give him the intermediates, I need to give him everything. So I need to be like this little one-man army. So I had 2 Canon 1DXs. I have my big wide lens, my 70x200. I'd have a 24x70, and then I'd have a wide angle in the bag. So I'd be running around like you see in like the documentaries, or you see in anything.
You're always running in the bag.
Yeah, you just see me with my bag like sprinting around, because I want to get everything. I want to get so many photographs of him that he's like, yeah, these are good. So I was running around with these 2 Canons on, and by the end of the camp, my back was in bits. Like I was serious. Like I was going to people like, listen, I can feel it. I have back problems. Yeah, it's starting. Like I'm just like, even though I'm sitting now, I'm slouching over all the time because my lower back was just killing me.
Blame Canon for
100%. It's 100% Canon's fault. Like I should be sending them the bills for it. Like my back was in bits, and but I liked how fast like the shutter speed and stuff was in Canon. I was very hesitant to change off, because like anyone, I'm sure like anyone here, like photography gear is not cheap, and when you invest,
definitely not.
It's such a weird thing. It's like you pick a brand at the start, and like you have this weird loyalty to the brand because you've spent all this money on it.
Especially if you've learnt on the brand. I don't know about you, but I started off on Canon.
Yeah, if someone gives me a Nikon, and I'm like, how do you turn it on? Like, like it just feels so weird.
Everything's in the wrong place.
Yeah, so I knew what everything was in the Canon. I knew like I didn't need to look up. My fingers just knew where to go. So I had this like weird thing with Canon, and I'd spent all my savings, all the money I'd made in Australia, I'd spent on all this Canon gear. So I didn't really want to change off, but my back was just too sore, and trying to get all these shots, I was kind of relying on, like there was times where we'd be in so much change in light, because you can see from any video, Conor's very spontaneous and erratic. He'd be sitting here, then he's over there, then he's outside, then he's back in here. And for me, being the paranoid person I am, I need to get every one of those pictures perfect. So trying to do it here, there's no light testing, there's no do it again. Everything has to be bang on.
Can you take 15 minutes to do a test?
Yeah, there's no like, okay, hang, can you just do that iconic moment again?
Or even when he's meeting people as well, because I've seen a lot of shots where, you know, maybe like the likes of Drake and stuff, you have to be in there and get that shot.
That's what changed it. So we were in Toronto, and it was with him and Floyd, and the 2 of them did that thing where they did this. Oh, you've never seen it on my page because I missed it. Because I had the settings wrong on my camera. And I looked up and I was like, yes, what a shot, unreal. And I looked down and I was like, because I had the 2 cameras on, I picked up the one and I hadn't changed the setting. And I just snapped and I looked down and I was like, fuck, I missed it. I've never, like, I hope he doesn't watch this now, because I've never said it to him, but that's why I don't have that. And it's this weird iconic moment that the 2 of them doing this to each other and I don't have it. So I was like, fuck's sake. And then as soon as I heard that Sony were coming out with the LED screen and that it has the live view, I was like, what, you can see what you're doing? Because before, you'd take a picture and I'd look down, I'd look up and he'd be like, where's he gone? Like a few times I'd be looking, seeing if I'd taken the picture, and I'd look up and be like, where's he gone? Like he's disappeared somewhere. So I was doing a lot of the chimping, which I didn't like, and I was like, right, I'm gonna have to like rely on a few more of the auto presets, which I hated, but there was times where I had to put it on auto ISO, because I couldn't be changing everything. The light was changing too fast. He was moving too fast.
It's a different environment that you're shooting each time. It's just changing constantly.
Yeah, and then I just didn't feel like I was putting out, like, I'd have to change so much, and I didn't feel like the photographs were coming out the way that I wanted it, because it was the camera was making the decisions, like, of what ISO I thought I wanted, and it just wasn't coming out the way I wanted to. So as soon as I heard about the Sony, I went and I got a loan of one. I went to Con's Cameras in as another plug, free plug. Get on to me, lads.
Cameras?
Yeah,
Check
get on to me, lads. Sponsor the video. So we got on to them, and I rented one. And then as soon as I rented it, I was just
remember we had a discussion as well. You were telling me about the 1DXs and stuff.
Yeah,
and the next thing you changed over to
and
Sony.
if any, I wouldn't even pick up a Sony. When people tell me, I was like, nah, it's a gimmick. Fuck Sony. Like, so they can't even make a good phone. Like, how can they expect me to make a good, like, a camera that you're competing with these, like, because you start off, people say, what camera should I buy? Nikon or Canon? That's it. It was just Nikon or Canon.
DSLR wise, there's nothing else.
It was just, and like, I didn't, and they were talking about mirrorless, and I was like, it's a fad, like, you know, it's gonna go away. And then as soon as I tried it, I was like, this is it. Like, this is a game changer. Because as soon as I did it, I could see what's going on. And like, for me, like, I'm just so paranoid. I just can't even thought of missing something. So I can see exactly what's going on, and I can make the pictures look the way I want them to look. Like, because I like, you can see coming up, or even look on my Instagram, I like really high punchy images, like everything in super focus. Like, I want my blacks to be black, and I want my whites to be white. Like, and that's a style that I like. It's like, does everyone like it? No. Is it suitable for everything? No, but it's the way I do it, and it just fit in so well with the Sony. Even the way the Sony cameras read the light is just different to the Canons, and I just feel like they're a very innovative company. Like, and they're like,
and they're pushing the boundaries as well.
Yeah, and they asked their photographers what's wrong with the cameras. Like, because I actually just remember now, I skipped a bit where I had the A7R Mark II, and I hated it. I was only using it for video. So I think whoever bought that camera got the biggest steal in their life. I'd say it literally had about 100 frames. Couldn't have had more than 100 frames on it. And I just hated it because it didn't have the thumb where your thumb should be. It didn't have where to change the autofocus points. Remember, it was over the other side, and if you're right-handed, my thumb is here, it's not over here. So I had to like change it across to try, and it didn't feel right. And then I was talking to someone at Sony, and I was like, well, like, that's why I don't want to use it, like, because it's on the wrong side. And it was at the time that I was kind of like getting a bit of exposure from working with Conor, and because I'd approached Canon, and I was like, look, listen, I'm doing all this stuff with Conor, like, you know, give me some free stuff here, and I'll promote Canon. Like, so I had no interest in changing off. But then I just happened to be speaking to someone.
They seem to have like a wee bit of a detachment from their clientele as well. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
They seem to be like, well, we're established, so people are going to buy.
They don't here dishing Canon.
Yeah, but they're like, they look at it like they don't need me. They're like, we're going to sell like 400 of them next month, regardless of what anyone says. We're still going to sell the same amount. But Sony are trying to break into it, so they're trying to get people to try them. So as soon as I was talking to someone at Sony, they were like, will you try it? And I was like, no. I was like, I tried the last one, I didn't like it. They're like, no, we listened and we've changed it. They're like, look, they're like, just try it. And then I was still hesitant because I didn't want to sell all my Canon gear. But then Conor had, I hope he's not watching this bit either. Conor had messaged me and says, I want to get a camera to record my rounds. And I went, oh, there's this Sony. I was like, this is the best one. I was like, there's cheaper ones, but like really pushing this one, really pushing the because I was like, I can use it to take photographs on. I was like, I've recorded a few rounds or whatever, but I can use it to take photographs on. I was like, there's this new Sony out. It's meant to be really good. Like, I think you should get it. So it's the camera I use now. It's the 7R, or the Mark III. I was like, it's brand new. I was like, a 24x70 lens would be perfect. I was like, because I couldn't afford to buy it myself, but I knew he could. So he ended up getting it to record the rounds, and I was using it to record his rounds, but then I was also using it to take photographs on. And I just realized, like, this is brilliant. I can just bring this one little small camera around with me, and it just changes everything. Like, it doesn't look huge. It doesn't look like a professional camera. If you don't know what you're looking at, it just looks like a little small camera. So it doesn't attract a load of attention, and then. Yeah, it just looks like, especially like if you have like a small 50mm lens on it, just looks like a point and shoot. So that's where I went. I'd use that, and then I just fell in love with the Sony, and then I just ended up
kind of convincing me to change here.
Oh yeah. Listen, use code Gingerbeard Photos for like 0% off. But I love Sony, and then I'd approach Sony and then they kind of knew who I was, and because my connection with Conor, and then I'd approached them and was like, look, listen, like I want to use your stuff, you want people to use it, I'll promote it. And because I'd seen that they'd brought on a whole new wave of ambassadors, so I was like I'd love, yeah, I was like, look, he's gonna fight Khabib, I'll do the whole camp on Sony. And they were like, yeah, because they really wanted me to use the A9, and I was like, well, I can't afford to buy them. So then they ended up giving me a big discount off an A9, and they bought all my Canon gear off me. Yeah. And then so I just, yeah, well, they got cons to buy all my Canon gear off me. So that's how I could afford to switch over. And then that's just where I did, and then I just love it, and I can't imagine not using Sony anymore now. I just love them. I just love everything about them. And my back feels a lot better now.
And what's the file size like compared? Because the thing that I found shooting was the file sizes were a lot bigger, so you probably need a couple more hard drives.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Like the file sizes are especially for the A7R, the Mark III,
yeah,
because it's 24 megapixels, and like I shoot, like, could be like 1,000 photos a session. Like,
yeah,
you know, if he's
easy.
If he's doing pads, that's like in 1,500. If he's doing sparring, like I'm shooting 2,000 things, because he doesn't want to hear. He wants it where it lands, and I can't like be like, okay, go. Like,
yeah,
I have to make sure
like
I get
that.
it. Like, so I shoot so much that I fill up a shitload of.
Must be running about with a lot of hard drives.
Yeah, I think I'm on to my like 15th or 20th, and like I'm talking like 5 terabytes.
Yeah.
4 terabytes. I think the smallest one I have is 1 terabyte, and I've got like 15 of them. There's a big stack of them in my room. But I just manage them so badly that I know where everything is, but nobody else does. I couldn't explain to someone where to find something.
It's like Aladdin's cave.
I'd be like, wait, what does it look like? I was like, no, I see there'll be a mark down the bottom left-hand corner. That's how you know it's the one from this year.
Like a plus sign or something.
Yeah. But yeah, the file sizes are the only. It's not even a bad thing. You gotta make that.
That is just getting bigger as well. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and it's becoming cheaper and cheaper to. You get like very good hard drives, especially from G Technology. They do a very good hard drive. But yeah, it's getting cheaper and cheaper, and like I just love them, so I strongly recommend trying them to anyone.
Yeah, and then what would your standard workflow be like? So you'd shoot, take the cards out.
Yeah, so I'd shoot. My standard workflow is I get him arriving. So if it's every time is different, like I get like so many random calls, like everyone knows Conor from that saying like stay ready, like, but I don't think anyone has actually embraced it more. I'm gonna get like a stay ready tattoo. Like, how did I start working for Conor? It's because I stayed ready.
Yeah.
When after that first week he'd message me, he'd just message me, go to the gym.
Yeah.
And I just go to the gym, no matter where I was or what I was doing.
Yeah, you're at the gym. That's it.
so just go to the gym, and then so I'd arrive. I'd take the photographs. He'd have a shower. I'd edit them, so card straight out into the laptop, edit all the photos, have my presets made, do all of them, connect the Wi-Fi from my phone using my hotspot to my laptop, and I'd send them to him. And then that was just the workflow. And unfortunately, I did it once, and I set a precedent, because I was like, still like, you know, I wanted to get this job, and I wanted him to find me useful, so I did it once. And then that added a precedent. So now, unfortunately, that's what he expects. We would still be places and be like, "Have you sent those photos yet?" I'm like, "No, we're still here. We're still at the event. Like, it hasn't finished. How could I have sent you the photograph?" Because I don't think he realizes that I edit them.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, you don't do much editing."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, yes, I do. I do loads."
Just really, really fast at editing. Yeah. It's like turbocharged.
Yeah, it's like Lightroom is what I use. So like, I only really use Photoshop if I want to like clean up an image, or if I want it from my Instagram, because he just puts them in the Instagram box, but I like having the whole picture in it, because that's what I've shot. If I wanted it to be a square, I would have shot it as a square. I don't want it to be a square. I want the whole image. I like giving the scene, like I like to give context and to make it look nice, and like to put different like elements in it. So that's what I like to do. So the only time I ever really use Photoshop is when I'm to add the white borders and to like clean stuff up, if I have to remove people, or if there's like something like dirt on the lens, or, you know, just clean up work.
Those things do happen as well.
Yeah. Especially you get home from a day and you just put your camera down, and before you know, it's manky.
Yeah, cool. and maybe the other thing is, do you want to just maybe talk us through? What I'll do is I'll put some of these images. So I'll probably just cut. Just going to check the time here. 1 second. If you talk us maybe 35 minutes. Fuck me, we can fairly do some talking.
I just ramble.
So maybe if you want to talk us through some of these images, and what I'll do is I'll put them up on screen in the edit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I just picked some of like
Maybe put pause. We'll try and
just.
see.
I'll just play it.
No, just leave that.
I'll just let it roll. Sure.
Yeah, okay.
I just picked some. I can send it on. So I just picked
Yeah.
some recent ones that I've done. So all these are actually shot, and it wasn't just because I'm on a like a real Sony bias,
Yeah.
but all these are.
Big
the
ups to
ones.
Sony.
Yeah, what's up, lads? I'm still looking for money off that Sony Bravos TV, so you know, or PlayStation.
Yeah.
So get on to me. But
Free PlayStation to post.
So these are all the ones I've shot on Sony, and but like really one thing that you can see from the images is I get lucky with places and things. Like all these are, none of them, okay, that's set up, that was a bad one. None of them are set up, or like I don't really control much of the lighting. Like that's the only time I really use flash. So I really like I get lucky because he goes to such cool places and he's pretty iconic that all I have to do is make sure the lighting is good and that he's in focus, and the rest will really take care of itself. But I really just like using the natural light and just letting Conor be Conor. Like I don't really ask him to pose too much, or if he does pose, it's really just him wanting to do it. I just like being a fly on the wall and just like letting him do it. So you can like really see I do like high contrast, high punchy images. Like they kind of look same as everything. They always look better on the laptop then. Yeah, that's a big thing I find with the Sony, is because they're such an innovative company, and they really have to, like they don't have a choice. They don't have a back history of this, like they've been doing it for this long, so people are going to buy them. So they have to do things. So they have a really good AF focus on the eye. So as soon as you press it, it will lock onto the eye and it will follow them around no matter where they go. So that's, especially when you're shooting someone, especially like music, sports, like where they're erratic, they're
constantly moving.
You can't be following them around trying to get the AF in the place where it should be. So once it's locked onto the eye, it will track the eye everywhere. And it also has so you can program in the faces. So you take a photo of them and you tell the camera, this is the face that I want the AF to lock onto. So if someone walks, if I'm locked onto Conor's face, because he's obviously the one I've programmed him as number one, if someone walks past, it won't jump off. It will stay on Conor's face.
That's crazy.
So that's really how I've gotten so many of the images. It's just I've just
he's
let
just in focus through.
Yeah, and I just let him. Like I identify a cool lighting space, and I'll be like, all right, cool, and I'll stand there. Like sometimes there's one of him coming down the stairs with a sword. Like I stood there for, I think it was like 40 minutes. We were waiting. Like literally, I was like, "Oh, here's a cool picture.
Just
He's gonna walk down. He's gonna walk down these stairs with a sword." I was like, "That's pretty cool." So everyone else was having breakfast, and I was just sitting there for 40 minutes, like literally just standing there waiting for him. I was like, because I know it's gonna be worth it. Yeah. Like this was
jet
shot.
Ski one, yeah.
So that's me. I'm on a jet ski, and he's on a jet ski.
Yeah.
And like he just called me and says, "Come down. I'm gonna take the jet skis out." So I didn't have any protection and nothing on the camera. I had it tucked into my life jacket, huddling over it as they're flying around the Irish Sea, trying to get him. But it's just, I don't know. It's just I just let him be him, and I just let the natural light fall where it does. Like, and I kind of get lucky with like this cool backgrounds, and he goes to cool spaces that have cool lights.
Yeah,
so
epic locations.
Yeah. So that's really half the battle. Like, but it's the same as anything. Like, you just gotta understand your subject and know what he wants and know what you want out of the image as well. And then
there's
you got
Iron Mike.
Yeah, Iron Mike. That was a mad one. So you just gotta like meet halfway between like what he wants and what I want. They're usually completely different. Like, and then I just gotta find a compromise in the middle for the image, and then I just kind of try and convince him that this is what it should look like. But yeah, that's it.
And there's Drake.
Yeah, see, a lot of it is I just get lucky with these people.
The other ones you were telling me about was they end up shooting some stuff for the Migos.
Yeah, so I ended up for Longitude last year. I same thing. Like it's just the philosophy of it all just work out. I was just sitting there and on my phone, and I just got this Instagram message off the Migos. I think it was Quavo's assistant.
Yeah,
and he was just saying, "Look, our photographers after missing
I like
out."
the way that each one has an assistant.
I think he's the only one who has an assistant. I didn't see Offset or Takeoff have an assistant, but look, it worked out in the end because he had met someone that I had met in London, and she had just said, listen, I know this photographer, because they said our photographer missed his flight. So they just messaged me and just said, would you be interested in shooting for the Migos? And I was like, yeah, of course, because I love, like, if you see my Instagram, I love rap music. Like, that's where I get all my captions and all from, because I'm like so dyslexic. I can, like, that's another reason I became a photographer, because I can't spell or add or anything. So my job opportunities were very limited. So like, I have to find something with no maths and no spelling. So I got so sick of people like writing like, oh, that's not how you spell what, or, you know, like correction, and I have to go on and delete it, and I'll be pissed off for the rest of the day. So I figure if I just find cool rap lyrics, I can just highlight them and copy and paste them into my thing. I go, no one will be able to correct my spelling then. So I just done that, and I'd used loads of the Migos lyrics, and I kept tagging them, hoping they'd see. And then
someone saw
them. So someone eventually saw it, and then they just got onto me and said, look, would you be interested in shooting them? And I was like, yeah, I'd love to. So I just went down, and I was shooting for them for the day, and then Conor was meant to come down to longitude, so they ended up giving me an all access pass, but it was a blank one, because normally, I'm not sure if people shoot music, you get like the acts, or you get like a stage access for this person and for that person, and then
VIP or blah blah blah.
So if you like, if I was shooting for Migos, I couldn't shoot Post Malone on stage, but they just left it blank.
Publicists would have to see the images.
Exactly.
Went out.
So I just when they were writing, I was like, yeah, that will do. I got, that's what I need, and I just grabbed the blank pass, and I just walked off, and I just acted then. Like most of the stuff, I just act, and people are like, oh, how do you get into these places? Just act like you're meant to be there.
That's it.
So I was just shooting, like acting like I was meant to be there for Post Malone. And even a security guard came over to me and goes, who are you shooting for? I was like, oh, just myself. And he's like, what are you doing here? I was like, oh, I shoot for Conor McGregor. And he's like, oh, we'd love to meet Conor. So then they were like, oh yeah, like work away, do whatever you want. So then I just ended up shooting Post Malone, and then I gone back, and then I shot the Migos, and the Migos was fairly a pretty intimidating experience, like all in all.
What were they like to meet? With the sound, with the?
Yeah, they're super nice. Like, it's like really like a lot more soft spoken than I thought they were going to be, and I thought, like, because you hear their music and you hear all the stuff about them, and I was expecting it to be like real hood, like, you know, to get there, and like I arrived, this tiny little white Irish guy, like, and I was like just there looking around, and I was like, whoa, I'm out of place here. So they were like, oh, like, you know, make sure that they like don't start shooting them, that like I have to introduce you to them and stuff before you can do it. And I was like, okay, and this would really put me on edge here. I was like, oh, these are going to be mad, like these are going to be crazy.
So it's just like meeting anyone, you know, before you meet them you're not sure their personality or what they're like. It just takes you a little time to like acclimatize yourself with them.
So their assistant just brought me up and was like, oh, this is Quavo and Takeoff, because Offset had his kid, so he wasn't there. And they were like, oh, this is the photographer. And they looked at me and they go, oh, are you Conor's brother? I was like, what? And they go, are you Conor's brother?
Irish man with a beard is Conor's
brother. I'm a little prick. I can't. When I see these opportunities, I just can't. I have a terrible sense of humor. And as long as I make myself laugh, I don't care. So I was like, here's an opportunity for a joke. And they're like, oh, are you Conor's brother? Well, what, you think all those white people look the same? You think we all look the same? And they were like, I started laughing. They go, oh, you all right, kid? You all right? I was like, okay, that could have gone down bad, but it went. So I kind of put them at ease.
Pause.
And then I was like, shit, I shouldn't have said that. But the two of them started laughing, and they were super nice. And then they just started. It was just like working. It was literally just like working for Conor. I was just like taking them and then taking photographs of them, and then they were like, oh, make sure you get the whole drip in. So, so like, I think that means all is closed. So. But they were super nice, and then I ended up getting to go back to the studio with them. We were there when Quavo was recording some of his new album and stuff, like, so we got to hear him do that and all. It was just a surreal experience. It was deadly. And then
stuff behind the scenes.
Yeah, a bit of behind the scenes stuff, and then I sent the images of Post Malone onto Post Malone's tour manager, and then so they kind of kept in contact with me, which is one thing that I feel like is really important. Like,
is making that connection.
Is making us connect, and not being afraid to just try it. Like, just send it. Like, I've sent people loads of stuff, like, and never hear back from them. Like, but it doesn't matter. Like,
there's always going to be like a percentage of success rate, isn't there?
Like,
stuff like that.
Like, you'll never get an answer to an email you don't send, like, or to a message you don't send. Like, you'll never get that, and because that's the bit that everyone's afraid of, is not hearing back. Because people go, oh, the worst thing they'll say is no. It's like, no, the worst thing they'll say is nothing. Because then it just, you're like, oh, I wasn't even worth a 2 minute email. Yeah, it makes you feel shit. You're like, I'm not even worth a 2 minute email back. So, but I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'll just not send
What
it
do
to
you
him.
find is the best way to forget? I kind of find Instagram's the best.
I find Instagram's the best. Yeah, for me as well. I've gotten all my stuff off
just making
Instagram.
connections with people and you know what I mean?
Yeah, because because people like old photographers will tell you like, oh, you got to make books and you got to make portfolios, which are super important. You do,
of course.
but they're for like the corporate end to get
Yeah.
to get your foot in the door. I think it is Instagram.
Yeah. And the competition's fierce now at the minute as well with all these all the digital cameras and stuff.
And there's so many young like 15
talented.
Yeah, and they're like 20, they're like 21 or 2, and they've been shooting for 5 years. And I'm like, when I was 21, I didn't even own a camera.
I picked the camera up at 26.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
it's like
that was my first.
And then they're all, oh, I'm so young. I was like, yeah, I've been doing it for 5 years. Like, fair play. Like, of course you're going to be this good. You've been at it for 5 years. Yeah. But there's so much, like, what's so good about Instagram is it gets your work out there so quickly and to such a wide audience that people see it straight away. And the whole world is now instant gratification. They want to know straight away. Yeah. They want to see it, like, straight away. And it's a great way to get out there is Instagram. But you got to, like, even the other day I bought, like, you got to go back and buy, like, I feel very strongly about buying, like, photography books and looking at, because you're looking at Instagram, it's only like that size, like, and you can't really see and you don't get a full perspective.
Even if you go out and get a print done, it's just such a difference. Like seeing it like printed properly.
It's such a nice feeling of seeing it. You're like, oh, that's gonna be around forever now.
Yeah.
Now I brought my girlfriend Rebecca with me. She won't be as pleased about this, but my house is just full of pictures I've taken. Like they're everywhere, and I just love them because I like. It's weird. Like people are like, oh, you have pictures of your boss everywhere. I'm like, yeah, but it's like. It's different. It's pictures I've taken.
It's work. It's work.
Yeah,
it's my
it's just art. It's so gratifying seeing it like coming out. Like I'll go in if I'm getting a print made. I'll go in.
Where do you get your stuff printed?
In in Dublin,
Yeah.
in Firehouse in Dublin.
I got some stuff off Whitewall, and their stuff's really good.
Yeah, I haven't even heard of them. See, I'm a creature of habit.
Yeah.
I went in. I go because I like going in. Because again I hate sending emails. I just can't. I hate talking. Like I want to talk to someone over the phone. I was like, listen, you're not gonna be able to read my email. Just ring me. So like I like going in. Like when I get prints done, I'll go in early, and I'm like, all right, when are you printing them? I'm like, I will have it done around 4. I'll be in there at 2, just watching it come off the printer, like annoying them, just watching them. Like, look, mate, this is a big thing for me. Like I'm like, oh, look how good. They're like, what's this for? I was like, for my wall. Yeah. They're like, what? Like this is a 6-foot print, like in acrylic. I'm like, yeah, no, don't tell my girlfriend. I was like, if she asked, don't tell her how much it was. But I love seeing my work. Because I love Instagram like I do, and like it's gotten.
We were just talking about as well the quality, you know.
Yeah.
They need to get on that and get the quality better.
Yeah, there needs to be like an Instagram premium where you can pay for the quality to come up. But it's cool seeing on Instagram, but like there's nothing like seeing your work being used for something. Like I love Instagram, and it's pushed me.
Published in a magazine.
Yeah, it's pushed me to where I am. But like when I see my stuff used and stuff, like I fangirl out so bad. I seen the first, so I did it's coming up. I did the Proper 12, the whiskey campaign. Yeah. So when I seen that, and I seen it on the first truck, like was
that on the truck?
Yeah, they're on it. It's on 1,000 trucks in America. Like I was running up and down, like Dara, get a picture of me in my truck. Nearly got knocked down by a car and all, like, and I was like, move, Conor. I want to get a picture. But like I freak out when I see them. It's like it's so cool. Like my work is being used by stuff, and like all these. It's like there's some random American on a highway somewhere now beeping at a Proper 12 truck because it's cut him off, and I'm like, that's my picture. Like sure, it's a picture of him and it's all used because it's him. But I took it. It wouldn't have existed until I took it.
Copyright is mine.
Well, I'm not gonna argue that with Champ. You got it. You own it, okay?
Maybe just do some questions. Have we got any questions?
The biggest difference I found is the workflow you get out of the Sony. Is that like for especially like if you're like you're at it like a long time, you know what the image is going to get. But for me, when I was starting out off, even now, and I'm looking down and I can see all the ISO and stuff, it's just so much information going on that I'm just like constantly thinking about, okay, what should the setting be, what should this be, and not thinking about what do I want the image to look like. And that's the most important thing. Who cares how you got it? Who cares if you took it on a Sony or a Canon or your phone, as long as the image is what you want it to be. And that was the biggest thing for me, is that when I have the Sony, that's all I concentrate on. Because I know, I change the settings and I know what each thing does, but I can see it having an effect on it. And like, especially in the instant gratification world we live in, like that you're seeing it straight away. There's no looking down, your eyes on your subject, you're talking to them the whole time. like before I'd be changing settings and looking up at them to make sure they haven't moved, but now I can like, oh, come a bit to the left, come a bit to the right, and I can change my settings at the same time. So that's the biggest thing I found, is just how, and like it allows me to feel more artistic and more professional. Yeah, because I'm not guessing. Like I don't take a picture and go, I hope I got it. If I take a picture, I know I've gotten it, or I know I haven't gotten it.
And the camera's not making a fool out of you.
Yeah, the camera's just literally now just a tool now, instead of like, I'd have it on, if it was a high pressure situation, I'd have it on ISO, like auto ISO, and then I'm like, oh, I want the shadows to be darker, and then sure you can fix it in post, but like you don't want to be spending hours fucking cooped up in a room editing some fella's shin.
So the mirrored cameras are of the past.
Yeah, like I think, like you can even see like Canon came out with a mirrorless, and they're all coming out with the live view on the thing, and I think but it doesn't matter. Like you see loads of the point and shoot cameras do the same thing, and the quality of them is getting so good that it's really blurring the lines between like what's a professional camera and what isn't anymore. But buy Sony.
Upgrading.
Do.
What about video? Would you do any more video again? No.
I have no idea. I don't even know. I'll go back to Gav and ask him what settings he put my camera on. So you can see the bits in the film that's mine, because it's all blown out and it looks terrible. Like I look at it and go, oh my god. And I'm sure the editor came and went, who is this kid? Like what is he doing? Like, but yeah, no video. I'm afraid I'm hopeless at, really bad. But I know the Sonys are good. I also like the way even the Canons have a flat back. You can't take the screen out. So for doing video, like you want a waist level. Like hardly ever you're going to shoot video from eye level to eye level. It's usually going to be lower down to make, especially for me, because I try and make my subject look heroic. So I try and come down and go up. It's even with the very loose bit of video I do. So with Canon, like I'm like trying to do this and kind of walk backwards, and like people are like, what's wrong with this kid? Like, but with the Sony you can just flip out the screen and look down. Yeah, and like now I know a lot of the Canons have the flip out screen, but none of the 5D doesn't have it, the 1DX doesn't have it, and they're the professional cameras that people like, when you show it to a job, they're the things that people want to see you be using. Like, so I just think there's little things with the Sony that really make a big difference with it.
That I do, so
oh, is it? Yeah, well, like the best thing I recommend to anyone is just, like, I don't know if you do it up here, but I just rented it before I tried it. Like, definitely try it out before, because what I think is good and what you think is good could be completely different things. Like, it just suits the way I do things. Like, and yeah, I just love it. But the video is very good, and it has nice tracking. Like I was saying with the eye, with the autofocus on the eye, will lock onto the eye and will follow your subject across, so you don't need to be trying to frame in and out. Like, so just lets you concentrate on actually doing what you're paid to do.
Good man, thank you.
No worries.
Is there anyone else? Yeah, Martin.
I know you made the switch from Sony to Sony. What about the lenses though? Did you switch straight over to the Sony lenses, or did you move to any sort of third-party ones or anything like that?
Yeah, so when I first started, like when I made the switch over, I was still like, I still dipping my toe into it. I was like, I didn't want to fully commit, so I didn't want to sell all my lenses. Because I only sell one camera. I sell one camera and one lens to afford the body, and then I used one of the third-party modifiers so I could fit the lenses on. And when it comes to video, perfect. Comes to photo, it was good. It just made the focusing just a small bit too slow with the for what I was doing. But for like a normal setting where you have like a normal time to do things and a patient model, it's fine. You really don't need to make the big switch over. But I just did it because I wanted to have all the full access to everything the camera was offering. So I wanted to focus on the eye. I wanted to be able to track. I wanted to be able to do everything that the camera was built to do. So I did eventually sell, and the lenses are so much lighter. Like honestly, the 70x200 is half the weight of the Sony, and like again, because I'm tiny, I'm like 60 kilos soaking wet. So when it comes to shaving off that little bit extra weight, then I'm all about that. Like, so, but you don't need to jump straight in if you're like thinking about making the switch. I definitely look at renting the camera and renting one of the modifiers so you can use your existing lenses on them. But like they've recently come out with Sigma have released Sony lenses, and like the Sigma Art lenses, like
yes, that would be a big Sigma.
Yeah, I've the Sigma 50 with me now, and I think it's actually better than the Sony 55. it's just it's still the art lens. It's a bit bigger now, but you're getting all that, you're getting that nice glass in it. It's like it's super. It's focusing.
I think they're just a wee bit sharper.
Yeah, I think so too.
Details.
I actually think so too. Don't say it to Sony. I think they're sharper as well, and the autofocus works the whole way around, like the whole way around the lens. I find the 24x70 struggles on the extremes. So on any edges of it, because I really like I love negative space. I love putting, like you can see in all of it, I love putting my subject in the corner, and I love having loads of negative space. And sometimes it can struggle. It's like it's trying to figure out what you want. So it can be a tiny bit too, not computerized, but it can be too smart for its own good sometimes. And the Sigma, it's just straight away focuses so fast, and the images are so sharp. I love Sigma. Like I think they're brilliant.
Yeah. Thank you.
No worries. Bye, Sony.
Cool. More questions? No? No? All good? Sorry.
I'm never getting a shot. How much of being a fighter lends itself to shooting fighters? So how much of knowing the industry, knowing their temperament, let's call it?
Yeah. For me, I think I think it worked out, especially early on in my career. It worked out. It was nearly key to doing it, because I know from being a fighter myself and getting blurry crap images of like my shin, and I'm like, because I've had 12 MMA fights, and I say I have 12 pictures from the whole thing, like, and I'm just like, what is the photographer doing? Like, you know, I don't want a picture of the two of us standing there kicking each other in the balls, like, you know, like I'm missing punches or my hands down. So I know, I just think when I started off, what would I want to see? And when I shoot fights, I just think, what would I want to see? Yeah. If someone was shooting me and these were going to go up on my page, or I'm getting it, what would I want to see? Mm-hmm. So that's just was my mind frame into it, is like, just give him something that you want, because like, and I kind of know the timing, and so if two people have their back to me, or if one person has their back to me, I know there's no shot, so I can do something else. I can change the settings, I can think about my next shot. If two people are like, if someone's on the ground in guard with their back to me, I know there's no shot there, because I see people like shooting, I'm just like, there's nothing there, like you're just wasting space in your memory card. You're making more time for yourself when it finishes, and you're wearing down your camera. So I'm like, why shoot that? It's the same with anything. If you shoot fashion, if you're a fashion photographer and you're inspired by fashion, you know what you want to see. So I just take that same mindset when it comes to fighting. It's like, what would I want to see? Everyone wants to see the face punch, which is an easy one. Like, everyone knows that. Like, if a punch is landing, that's a good one. But I like to think, like, I want to see stuff with my corner man, like, because they're the people who help you. Like, so I want to see like the walkout. Like, I want to see like the big flags in the background. I want to see me and my coaches. I want to see afterwards. Like, so straight away people think the fight's over, so they're looking down at the cameras. It's like that's when I get some of the best photographs. Is when like the fight's over. Even when the person who loses, you can see the emotion on their face. You see the people who win, they're embracing their friends and family. You go, they're the bits that I want to see. So I'm like, if I want to see him, hopefully other people want to see him. So that's just what I do.
Perfect. Is there anyone else? Yeah, William at the back there.
So like you run like gingerbread productions and stuff. Do you see yourself expanding over the next few years, or find people or anything?
Hopefully. Like, I'd really like to get to, because I was saying with Youssef earlier, is like, what I really want to get, I like seeing my work in print, so I want to do a lot more commercial work, and I want to move into, like, it is a bit, like, I do shoot a lot of stuff by myself, but I really want to expand into having a team and being able to, if I'm working here, I want to be able to like set up a proper company where I can employ people, and I can take on, like, when it comes to retouching, I'm not the best editor in the world, far from it, like, and I think that's one thing that, especially photographers, we can get a bit egocentric. It's like, we have to do everything. Like, yourself, you have to do everything. If you can't do it, then you're no good. But like, I'm definitely open to moving into video work. I'm far from the best videographer in the world. I'd like to offer video work, so I know that's something that I need to look into. The same with retouching, especially if I really want to get into more commercial work, and I want to get like into commercial retouching and stuff like that. So, and I think it's great having a team. There's like, you can bounce ideas off each other.
People to work with as well.
I like, you can go into things with a dead set, like, this is what I'm going to do, and this is going to look cool, like, and when it's not working out, you can be like, you can panic, because you're like, oh, like, you know, this is all on me, and it looks crap, so I'm crap. But instead of just someone going, oh, like, why don't you move this over here? Why don't you move that light there? And you're like, oh yeah, that's great. Now, what's good is working with Conor now is that the McGregor Productions is that he has a videographer, and this D3rk McCarthy, like amazing videographer. He's the director of photography for the film, and like he's just I call him the lighting god. He's just so good. So when it comes to him, I can ask him, what do you think of this, or we should do that, and like we can bounce ideas off each other. So I think working in a team is very important.
It expands them obviously, and you too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It
like I
really
think
helps you develop.
I think having an assistant with you on a shoot is really important.
It makes things so much easier as well. Do you know what I mean? Just takes that brunt of everything being on you. You know, worrying about every single small thing. Yeah. You know, where it's more like a team.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'd like to bring an assistant on at more shoots, but like when it comes to working with Conor, I get like such short notice. Like
the assistant have to sleep under your bed.
Yeah. Not everyone's ready for the stay ready lifestyle. Like even on the way up, I got a call, and like if I was any closer to Dublin, then I would have to done this by Skype. Yeah. But I got a call of go here or go there, and like I literally have to go here or go there. Yeah. But when I have the time and it allows it to do a few other stuff, I'd really like to bring an assistant in, and it's really important to work with other people. Like
100%. It ups your game and their game. Do you know what I mean? It just makes everything
exactly.
Makes everything a lot better.
And I think it's important to help, because I got a lot of help from when I started off. Like is from American photographers like James Law and like Ryan Loco. They were like, I could ask them things, and I think it's very selfish to get to a point where you're like, okay, I've like, even in your hand, okay, I've made it to this point, and then like you don't have to worry about anyone else, or you don't answer like messages, because I remember messaging loads of people and not getting nothing back, and I'm like, I was just like, what an arsehole, like, you know? So when people message
especially
me,
when you seen the red,
that's the worst.
Wanker.
Like what? Like I'm just asking a simple question and people think they're too good. Now I don't answer, like people ask me what camera and what lens you use. I get asked that all the time, so I'll cover
just
that.
Put this video up and be like,
exactly. I cover that in things like this, or I'll cover in something else. But if someone asks me like, how do I do this, or how do you do that, I've no problem. Like I'm like, I feel it's important. Like I am far from probably even the best photographer in the room. Probably far from it. Definitely not the best photographer doing like this kind of work. But I still think it's important to share what I know and what I think. Yeah. And then you get stuff back from other people.
I think everybody just has their own life experiences and has a different perspective, and that's how they work. Do you know what I mean? And if you can give a little bit of that to someone else and pass it on, you know, maybe they go, oh, I was thinking about this way or that way, you know, and just use that in their work.
And sometimes when you say stuff out loud, you're like, that's not going to work at all. Like you have this in your head and you're like, oh, we're going to make a chair out of boxes, and you're like, it's not going to work. It's only when you actually say it, or you write it down, or you see it, and you're just like, what is I thinking? So I think it is important to work, and it's important like to give back and to help out where
this was kind of like the whole idea behind this as well, is maybe do it once a month, you know, for the next 12 months and see you know how it goes, and just bring different people in to talk about what they do and get different perspectives. Because
especially in Ireland, like north and south, it's such, the photography community is so small that everybody knows everybody, but everybody doesn't work with everybody, and everybody doesn't help.
It's the same with the video stuff as well. There seems to be like a lot of, you know, everybody wants to get their own work, but at the same time, you know, everybody's afraid in case other people are taking their work. Do you know what I mean? Because it's so small.
And if you're not confident in like, if you're not confident in your own work, how can you convince a high-end client that they should hire you? If you're like, oh yeah, this is good, don't look at this person. Like I really started like to try and reach out. Like I'm not like, I do like lifestyle and sports. So when it comes to fashion, it's something that I want to do more. So I've reached out to other fashion photographers and like, look, can I just come along and just see what you do? I won't do anything. I won't
bother you.
Some people are very protective over their work. They don't want you bringing a camera because they don't want you.
Have a secret light.
Put up in the corner. So I just want to see what they do, and I'm like, look, any chance I can where I have the time to let someone know, I was like, look, come along and you can see what I do, and you can see how little I know, and but like, I think it is important.
Cheers. Thanks very much for coming down, man.
No
worries.
It was
an absolute pleasure having you here.
Hopefully I convinced. I was just terrified. I was like, how am I going to convince a room full of people? Actually, no.
That was great.
That's why I brought Rebecca. I was like, all right, it'd be a crowd of one. It'd be grand. She already, or you know what I'm doing.
Perfect. Thank you very much, man. Cheers.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers. All right.